we don't have any more money. We have offered what we can offer.
That's a lie.
And you have the teachers union that's saying, well, you have $2 billion in reserve, and you just got $140 million from the state, so you don't have any money. And they're asking these questions, but they're also asking this: we have to change the environment of the schools. We got to get these chains off these doors. We got to put some paint on this wall. When you walk into a lot of these schools, it's so dead that the kids really are not stimulated.
Yeah.
They come in already shut down and not ready to learn anything. They ready for things to jump off.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I feel, based off what I've heard, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the teachers union, but from what I've heard and what I've been reading, they're asking the right questions. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem is that people are like, why have you waited this long to want to say something? A lot of the schools that we have here have been the same way for 30, 40 years. They haven't changed anything about the schools. The schools are so run down. They even got little chains on the gate before you get to the school. So it's those things. And I think that the teacher union and the current president, has finally stepped up and said, okay, we might take a loss. Right? Like we might lose something within Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. But the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that they've been negotiating with the district for 2 years. For 2 years, and the district keep sort of rebuffing. But at the same time, our district has had multiple superintendents over the last several years. So it's like, they're not speaking in the same language. And anytime that we're not able to communicate, or understand what our problem is and understand, okay, how do we rectify the problem or how do we come to some, resolution to these problems, you get what we have and what we've been having for this week.
But historically,
yes.
Take a look at the hits that people have taken. You'd have gang infestations. Right. You've had so much violence. I mean, so historically, this is the reason why the chains are there. This is the reason why. It's almost like you don't even want to invest money into something that's not going to yield a return. Why will we keep doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result? I remember when schools used to be the central focus of a community. The parents would go, they were baking goods. They were always there. They were present. The PTA was, all of these different things. You have a different generation of people that have come up. But at the same time, I'm looking at it from the district's perspective as well. Why would we keep putting money, or why would we put money into something that's not going to yield the results? How many times do you go and paint over a fence and then it gets graffitied again? When is it that you decide, okay, there needs to be another route that we take? Because putting this paint on the wall, we already know what's going to happen. So you have to begin to make decisions. You have to use wisdom. You have to understand the environment that you're in, begin to shape the environment from the outside. Bring the parents. Let them be more involved. Some of the parents need to be educated, and it's not even their responsibility, but it's about community. Focus back on the community. If this is your little area, I remember you didn't want your yard to look horrible compared to your neighbor's yard, because you didn't want to, bring down the community. No, people don't have a sense of community. Right. They will tear down their own stuff.
Right.
They will tear down and destroy their own things. Bring a sense of community back. Involve the parents. But no, don't slap another a coat of paint on their wall when they're going to come and graffiti it. Absolutely not. Because if you use $5 of my dollars, I'm coming up there and I want my money back, because you know what's going to happen. So you need to it's a different route. You need to take a different route.
Well, I think, so of course I disagree with you on that. I think you should, because having been educated in sort of where we grew up in the public school system, and the resources were just terrible and all the gang violence and craziness. And I really checked out most of the time when it came to academics. Like, I didn't realize how good I was in a number of cases because I just checked out. I slept all the time. I saw people fighting all the time. It was always having to defend yourself all the time. But that was sort of the nature of the environment. But when I went to got accepted into this academically gifted school that I didn't even think I was going to be able to get in, but I ended up getting in, that environment was completely different. The learning environment, how they engaged you, so that the brightness of the building, it was just designed for stimulation. And as a result of that, and subsequently past that, I found that the way I perform academically has changed. So I think there is a place for providing the safety, but it's at the same time we got to figure out how do you still provide the environment where people don't feel like they are, or the kids don't feel the psychosocial the trauma, I guess psychosocial trauma from being in a routine where the teachers are being charged with being the prison, police, and the superintendent or the principal is the warden,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you as the student are just sort of being dragged class to class. Like there's no freedom. You're not given the freedom to be and to think and to dream, because you're constantly in this pressure cooker. So that's the reason why I think it's run like a prison. But like you said, there is this responsibility that the community has, not that you have to wait for the permission from the school to give it to you, though I think that most schools would love to have people with good intent to come and participate in their environment, in their community, because they need it, because there's so many kids that are just so far behind. But parents, you do have a responsibility to ensure the education of your children. They're your kids, not the school's kids. They're your kids. So you have to be a part of that at home and at school. You don't drop it off and expect that the teacher is going to be the one, the end all be all, and that the school has to solve all these problems. It's a sticky situation that we clearly don't have the answer to.
Community.
It's a community.
Disclaimer.
It requires a community.
We do not have the
engagement.
answer, but it does belong to the community. Our schools are in our community. These are our kids that DJ has said, as Shawnee Red has said. These are our kids. And so it's our job to do the best that we can to provide them, with the best environment possible for them to get the best education possible. And I think that's very important. I got to talk to you guys about this. Is it true? Does it is a degree, an avenue to avoid prison?
No.
Why do you say that, Shawnee Red?
I mean, let's be clear. These are character defects. So I can have a degree and still be in prison. I mean, as Martha Stewart.
Yes.
As the people, that are part of the SEC, or people, the Ponzi schemes and all of these. It's a character flaw. It's a character defect. I did not get a degree. I didn't go to prison. I mean, I haven't. But I did not get a degree. I don't think that that is something that you can avoid simply by a degree. I do think someone going to get a degree or to obtain a degree is a certain kind of person. It's a certain type of determination. It's a certain type of person that goes into these different areas, or venturing out, or, going to actually do the higher learning. I've tried it. I've attempted it, but I don't quite fit, into the structure. I never have. I've attempted to fit. I've gone for multiple times, multiple degrees, whether it was healthcare, sociology. I mean, I've done multiple things, but I never quite fit into the construct. I'm a little too artsy as opposed to academic. And so I think sometimes we try to fit everything into a mold. And if you keep trying to put something into a mold that doesn't fit, the mold should eventually break. And I think when we break that mold, and then people are able to freely, and then you don't base success on a degree or working at a certain job or doing a certain thing. When success is if you're fulfilling your life. When we change the idea that your success is tied to a degree, then maybe we can take that negative connotation off, even with the children with the school that don't go to get a degree. Maybe they love art. Maybe they're entrepreneurs. Maybe they are, artists. Maybe they, want to go do something completely different that doesn't fit in the construct. But as long as you keep telling people, and I do think sometimes that's often implied, if you don't get this degree and go into debt and go and work for this company, you're not going to be successful. So I think that's what happens a lot of time. And that mold, I think, slowly has been broken. It's been broken at generations before us, and people are going to continue to press those buttons because we don't fit and we weren't made to fit. But in this particular country, you do. It's something that appears right to a man. And that's what everyone goes based on. So no, I think if you get a degree, you go to prison and you just get another degree while you're in there. But I don't think you'll avoid prison. Absolutely not.
DJ Talks, what do you think?
No, I agree. Getting a degree doesn't necessarily prevent you from going to prison, even though I think, like Shawnee Red said, it seems to imply that you are less likely, because the assumption is, and this is if all these assumptions hold true, right? Mm-hmm. So assuming you get a degree, which will allow you to get a job, which will allow you to make enough money, to, you know, pay your bills, to have a house, to live out all these aspects of the American dream, cover your health care costs and all these sort of other things. You know, those individuals probably may not necessarily go to prison if they don't have the character defect that we talked about earlier, where they're using this human capital that they develop for ill, right, to cheat people out of their money and all of that. But if you're a crook, you're going to be a crook with or without a degree.
A crook is a crook is a crook.
Right? So